Over 830 days ago, I met TAKTiX's, and I never would have thought that the relationship that we have would have blossomed to what it is today. With over 14 projects together, many live shows, and countless music videos, it has just been easy, to say the least. I usually like to try and script these videos to give it a bit of structure, but with TAKTiX's, I'm not just talking about a colleague. I'm talking about a friend. In today's video, I'm going to break down what it took to get the Remorseful music video off the ground, some behind the scenes, what the story is, and just my general experience working with TAKTiX's on this particular project. When he approached me with the song, we went back and forth on a couple ideas, but the general consensus was it was a fuck you to the industry. Not only did we want to showcase that he's beating the odds, but the industry expectations, the political alliances, the idea of this industry that he had built up in his head, it's all wrong. It's all different. So we embodied those two mentalities, the old way of thinking and the new way of thinking, into two characters, two almost identical TAKTiX's. So when you see the two TAKTiX's in the music video, you're looking at the judge, who is the old way of thinking, his original mentality when he first stepped into the music industry. And the one that you see in the ring is the one that's gone through all the trials and tribulations, the one that's been forged by fire, the one that's gained all the knowledge and growth and developed into who he is today. So these two characters do not see eye to eye because they have the same end goal, just two different ways of thinking. So we showcase this battle of ideologies in roughly 3 major scenes: the boxing ring scene, the car scene, and the abandoned property scene. For some of my references on this video, we used Anybody by Renzi, False Alarm by The Weeknd, Since When by Say True God, Made Me Like This 360, and some additional cinematic boxing sequences that are found on YouTube. All of these videos are great music videos within themselves, and for all the behind the scenes video captured on this, thank you so much to Teo Turner, a good friend of mine, for coming along and grabbing this for me. So the first scene of the day that we set up is the boxing ring. One of the challenges on this music video was because we were getting TAKTiX's to play 2 characters, we needed a body double for when they were in the same scene. So we got supermodel superstar Ali to help us with that. We essentially filmed the scenes twice, once from TAKTiX's perspective and once from Ali's perspective, but in TAKTiX's clothes, so that way it felt like they were in the same scene together. So thank you, Ali, for being in this one. We couldn't have had it any better. I think the only improvement I would have made is I would have had slightly bigger arms to try and match TAKTiX's, but you know, we can't all be winners. One of the things we did in this video as well was, because it was already quite a short track, we had a prolonged intro. We wanted to make it cinematic and feel like the start of a Netflix documentary for this new fighter approaching the scene. But in fact, it's TAKTiX's using his words, not his fists. A lot of the music videos that I've been doing recently have all been very performance-based, just getting the artist to lip-sync the track 100 times. But for this particular one, we had more of a story we wanted to tell, so I haven't actually done a short film in 3 years maybe, so I'm glad that I got to do it on this project because it really felt creatively freeing to think outside the box again and tell a story with visuals rather than just performance. In terms of lighting for this whole music video, we wanted to maintain a very moody, dramatic look. So for this particular boxing scene, we had a Forza 60C with a projector mount beaming a light into the boxing ring. And on the other side, where Judge TAKTiX's was sitting, we had a Forza 300B with a softbox to give a nice sharp key light, but still controlled with a softbox and grid.
Dude, that's fucking perfect. Nah, don't like that.
I often find working with TAKTiX's and small crews to be incredibly efficient and effective. I'd much rather do videos like this instead of having to deal with 100 people on set, just because we get so much more done and it just doesn't feel like work. It feels like friends being able to creatively bounce off each other and just come up with the ideas on the fly.
I'm gonna be so agitated because that whole fucking thing just happened. I'm like, fuck this shit, bro. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the point.
You look like a fuckhole. That was shocking.
No, that was good. One of my mottos for when I'm directing and shooting music videos is I'm not going to ask the talent to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. I'm more than happy to throw myself into various situations, whether it's laying down on the dirty ground, getting intimidated by a fake weapon, sticking my head out of a car, running into a wire fence. It just sells the performance a lot more to the actors, to the artists, and if I'm willing to do it, then you should be as well. Normally I can boast that there are never accidents on my sets, but on this particular occasion there were at least 2 major things that we could have improved on. One of which being when TAKTiX is laying on the ground getting intimidated by the gun after he's just been jumped. We needed this shot where Ali was going to smack Tax over the back of the head with the butt of the gun, and it just wasn't convincing enough. We did it 5, 6, 7 times, and we ended up using the final take, and I'll just let that play out.
Like, kick your feet around a little bit. 3, 2, 1, hit him.
What? Do it again. Do a full swing. Do a full swing.
3, 2, 1.
Did it look crack up?
Yeah, ow. Tax copped that straight to the ear, and his ear was thumping all night, so he was an absolute trooper to get through the rest of the video. But yeah, even fake weapons still hurt. Accident number 2, which I should have seen coming, but if you're ever taping someone up for a scene, and I know that doesn't happen very often, but if you do tape someone up for a scene using gaff tape, masking tape, to make it convincing yet comfortable for the artist when you're taping them up, you should always have a thin layer of toilet paper or tissue on like 80% of the tape. So it's only the edge that's actually still got the stickiness to it, so it doesn't hurt like a motherfucker when you rip it off. I forgot about that. So when Ali did about 20 wraps around the wrist, not only was Tax stuck in that for about 2 hours because it was uncomfortable for him to take it off.
Is this gaffer tape?
Yeah.
This is fucked.
But when he did take it off, he had a scab on his wrist and it just pulled it clean off. It was so gross. It was so uncomfortable. I'm so sorry, Tax. And arguably, even though it's only a small scene, probably my favorite transition that we go from TAKTiX bursting out through the doors, getting jumped, and we're not seeing him perform at all. And it's only once he gets thrown into the back of the car that as he lands, rips off the bag, he goes straight into performance. I just thought it was super clean. I think it just helps the flow of the video as well, because we had all of this information that we wanted to try get across to the audience with very little time to do so. So leaving out major parts of the lip syncing to shove in performances and only having the impactful, the necessary parts of the track being performed, I thought helped the flow of the video majorly. Also, I forgot to mention, we didn't start filming until about 8:45 p.m. because of daylight savings. So by the time we finished getting all the driving scenes with TAKTiX in the back and we were on our way to the abandoned property, it was, what does it say, 1:26 a.m. So we got our extra gangsters, Moses and Lays, out of bed at like 2 a.m. to come finish shooting this video. So we didn't end up wrapping this video until 3:45 a.m. And yeah, it was a long shoot, but again, everything was worth it. And once we got to the abandoned property, some of the more keen-eyed viewers of you might have seen, we've actually used this location in multiple of their music videos, specifically in their mixtape Madness and in Humbled. So I think this is the 3rd time we've used the spot, but it's so good and it fit exactly the aesthetic we were going for. The main reference for this whole scene that's about to play out was Dexter. Just anytime he's in a kill room, really wanted to try and mimic the clinical feel that Dexter has in the show, while also maintaining the grunge and grit of the performance. To light up the facade of the building to try and kind of get it to feel a little moonlight-like, again, I used my Forza 300B on a massive C-stand with a 150 centimeter softbox just to get plenty of coverage. And again, thank you TAKTiX for being an absolute trooper and running face first into the fence half a dozen times to get the right shot, because it really does feel terrifying. Sometimes you do get hurt, so seeing TAKTiX really throw 110% effort into this really sells it for me. Another little pleasant surprise in this scene was I wasn't expecting there to be any wildlife up at 2 in the morning with us. But apparently these cute little birds were nesting where we were shooting. I think one of them even took a shit on Ali's outfit, or maybe it was TAKTiX's outfit. Someone got shat on by some birds. But it made such a good little moment that I filmed it, and it just fit the video. It just had that extra little bit of life and world building to it, I think. And once we are in the kill room, we just got some cheap plastic tarp from Bunnings, just like the plastic paint protector stuff. Gaff taped it to the walls, and to light it all up, I got my Nanlite 30X power tubes and threw them around the room to make it feel like those fluorescent tubes that you would see in a grungy scenario like this. As I'm just watching some of this BTS footage back, I'm just looking at the time codes of when everything was filmed. The last clip that I have of TAKTiX's with the tape on was at 2:30 in the morning, and when we taped him up at the start of the night, it was about 12:10 a.m. So he went a solid 2.5 hours pretty much fully taped up. So because we knew TAKTiX's was getting murked in the end of the music video, I didn't know initially how I wanted to go about it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go the kind of Goodfellas and Say True God Since When kind of way about things, where we see the burying of the body and that kind of infamous boot shot, or if we were going to see the gun go off and get some minced meat and throw it around the room and get some fake blood and makeup. But what we ended up opting for was letting the audience's mind fill in the gaps. So by using one of my Forza 300Bs with a remote trigger, I was able to get a flash from inside the building to mimic a muzzle flash. With those birds nesting in there as well, it really felt like they were flying away because of a loud ringing gunshot. And with some cheap fake blood that we bought from a costume store, it really felt convincing. And because we did it in such a way where it's what's not seen, which is important, I think it made for a much more impactful scene. I wanted to more or less leave it up to the audience's interpretation as to what's going on, what happened, but what I've written down in the treatment is medium shot of garbage bags, now splattered with blood, symbolizing the end of the old TAKTiX's and the rebirth of new TAKTiX's. And I think that just sits right, you know? And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you enjoyed this behind the scenes and a bit of a deep dive into the Remorseful music video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It took a lot of effort to get this video off the ground. I've got plenty more music videos to break down and behind the scenes content to share with you guys. And if you haven't checked out the full Remorseful music video yet, please click this link somewhere around here. It would really mean a lot to TAKTiX's and I. The amount of effort that goes into this is insane. The late nights, the blood, sweat and tears, it would really mean a lot to us. So until then, I'll catch you in the next one.